This morning on Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood, we get back to a few projects that have been hanging up here at the Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood headquarters. We get on the Suburban, which the transmission actually failed, and I believe it's the torque converter. And that just kind of gave me an excuse to get into what I wanted to do next. Was I wanted to upgrade the transmission from this being a Turbo 400 to this, which is called the Super Turbine 400. Okay, so a small little history lesson on this to begin with is that originally in 1963, Buick had the Dynaflow transmission, which was a 2-speed with a switch pitch torque converter. In 1964, they built a whole new transmission, which was the Turbo 400, which became the Turbo 400. It actually was the Super Turbine 400 first, and that came out in 1964. Later on, as it went, 65, General Motors adopted the Super Turbine 400 as the standard transmission in all heavy-duty applications, and it then got farmed out over like the next 20 years all over the automotive community, right? So AM General used it in Humvees, it was used in buses, it was used in small trucks, it was used in large trucks, grain trucks, stuff like that, as well as Bentleys. It was used in Rolls Royce, and it pretty much went throughout the field. But in the first 3 years of development with the Super Turbine 400 was a switch pitch application. Now you're probably wondering, what is switch pitch? And that's what most people probably wonder. Well, switch pitch is a variable vane torque converter. So you can actually have two different stall speeds in one torque converter. That application didn't carry over after 1967, and it was no longer used in any Turbo 400. But each Turbo 400 is still capable of being a switch pitch. You just need to find the correct parts to make it a switch pitch: a valve body, the pump, the input shaft, the torque converter. But this is how you identify a switch pitch. So here's the Turbo 400 that was out of the Suburban. Okay, like I said, the torque converter, I believe, failed. It's over there draining right now, but it's probably going to go in the trash. But this is from a 73 Buick Electra that I converted to short tail shaft last year, or 2 years ago. But all I did was take it out, put it in the truck, and see if it even worked, right? So we swapped over the tail shaft housing and the output shaft. But if you look, here is your kickdown switch for a Turbo 400. Okay, it has one prong that's mounted vertically. Now, it's no different than any other Turbo 400 that came in anything from pretty much 1968 on. Okay, with the exception of it's the heavy duty bell housing with the extra ribs up here for a heavy duty application, and that meant full size car or truck. Okay, but here is the torque converter out of the same exact transmission. I had swapped it out a year ago because I was having problems with its sealing here, and I kind of assumed maybe the runout was bad, but either way, I ended up putting a new torque converter in it, and I think it failed. But if you look at the two side by side, this here is a regular Turbo 400 torque converter out of a 73 Electra, and this one is a switch pitch torque converter out of a 67 Buick Riviera. Now you see there's extra welds on the outside. It goes all the way around the case, and there's also welds here on the top that I don't know if you can actually see in the video, can you? Can you see these welds? Okay, but that actually holds a secondary piece in there that allows you to change the vanes on the torque converter at the flick of a switch. Okay, so on this transmission, which is, again, would be, this is a Turbo 400 model because it is a 67 model, but in the first few years was Super Turbine 400. And over here on the side, just like the previous Turbo 400, you have your kickdown switch, but you have a kickdown mounted vertically, and then you have your variable vane torque converter switch mounted horizontally, running lengthwise on the transmission. Okay, that's the easy way to identify one. It'll actually have two prongs right here. One is for your kickdown, one is for switch pitch operation. Now, the switch pitch normally operated with a few switches that were attached to the carburetor and the throttle pedal. to allow the torque converter to go from low stall to high stall dependent upon the throttle angle. So the Turbo 400 didn't have that. All it had was the kick down. Now the switches are really hard to find, and what I found is there's a guy in northern Illinois that has a controller for the Switch Pitch Turbo 400 that operates off of vacuum and also operates off throttle angle and load. So it will operate the entire switch pitch setup completely secondary of just switches, you know, will alleviate the switches completely, and it just has this one controller box. So other than that, that's today's lesson on Buick lore. These things were only around for a few years. They're also fairly desirable for performance. One big thing is your 0 to 60 will generally change and be much quicker with a high stall converter, and then you can go back to the low stall. In my situation, we're going to use it for a towing application. So we got the smaller 400 cubic inch Buick big block in the Suburban, and this is going to allow us to tow up hills and all kinds of stuff better. And it's actually going to improve the 0 to 60, but it'll also improve the performance of the truck towing. So other than that, that's all I got for you today. You guys were asking for switch pitch for quite a long time, so here it is. I will see you later. Oh, hey, and don't forget, we're having an event called the No Name Nationals, Sykeston, Missouri, September 30th, October 1st. It's at Jeffers Motorsports Park. You can pre-register on nonamenationals.com. You can even buy pre-registered spectator tickets on there. You'll save yourself $5 on the spectator ticket. At the gate, it's going to be $20. Pre-registered is $15 a day. So make sure you head on over to nonamenationals.com and get yourself enrolled.